Hey y'all, hey, this is the energy of the week for August 23rd, 2026. Like last week, I'm going to talk a little bit about the energy and what it's feeling like, and a little bit about the astrology of the week. Not all of the astrology, I focus on what flows and connects with the energy as I'm feeling it. The energy over the last couple of weeks has really been extraordinary. It's been heavy and intense. There have been large themes of release and the need to open our hearts to the most beneficial types of expansion entering our lives. Also, there's been this need to let go of all the things and let go of the reins and let spirit guide us. Right now, the energy feels like, to me anyway, the very season that we have just entered, harvest season. The release part of all of this has been intense, though. It's like we've been inside of a dryer with the pair of sneakers just being tossed around and banged about. There's been this feeling of conflicting movement between exhaustion, confusion, a need to go and a need to rest, a passion to move on all the things you've ever wanted to do, and the brilliance to actually do it. And that has been quickly subdued by what feels like the most intense holiday-induced food coma hitting you right in the gut and sitting you all the way down. It's felt like a daily invitation to step into the ring just to have a clash. So I think this year I personally am much more open to Virgo season than I think I've ever been. Usually I'm really sad to see Leo season move away. It always goes too fast for me. That's my birthday month, my birthday season. So I don't usually like to let it go, but this year, the steady structure that Virgo brings us, the invitation to take a deep look at all the things and get our whole life together, to pull in the harvest and prepare for the coming changes, I really welcome that right now. I don't think that energy is a mistake or a coincidence ever. And so, right now, what I want to do is I want to talk about the astrology of the week. I'm actually going to start with our last full moon on July 29th, which was in Aquarius. And I'm going to go back to that because this last whole month has felt like a very intentional setup for the next couple of years of our lives. That day was a jump off point for our transition on both the collective and personal level. And it was different from all of the other jump off points we've had this year. This was actually truly like jumping off of a cliff for us and just having the ultimate trust, kind of like the Fool card in tarot, knowing that we are going somewhere unknown, knowing that the universe is guiding us and that the universe is there to catch us, and we're about to learn a whole lot of new things. So it was a very intentional setup. It was a jump off point. I say that because the eclipse season for the next 18 months is on the Aquarius Leo axis. So the nodes are there, putting our focus on Leo and Aquarian themes. And Leo carries warmth and generosity and passion and creation and creativity. It carries playfulness and joy, and it's about shining as our authentic selves, unabashedly and very, very visibly, right? And one of those things that we are being asked to do, especially by the presence of the nodes, is to be visible, is to be shining in the way that we are meant to be shining, right? That's one of the reasons why Leo season this year has been so important. It's really because those nodes are there in Leo and Aquarius. So, Aquarius is about revolution and change. So, whereas Leo is about you shining authentically, Aquarius is more about the collective shining in unique and innovative ways, progressive transformation. They are rebellious. They rebel against the status quo, and they put their eccentric eye towards a dispassionate observation of the much bigger picture. Aquarians tend to find unconventional ways to address the human condition. These themes took center stage just as Jupiter entered Leo for the first time in 12 years. And all of this happened in the middle of some much larger transits that are hugely transformational. But they continue to be, right? And will continue to be for quite a while. they're also extremely rare, extremely rare. So I think that, for professional astrologers, not even they were completely aware of what the impact would be on humanity, but we all have and had this sense of something's coming, and we know it's going to be something big, and we know that there's great transformation afoot, right? So that Aquarius full moon on July 29th happened right at the peak of Jupiter Cazimi. So that's why I'm going back to that one, because, Jupiter entered Leo, and then all these amazing, extraordinarily rare astrological events during July, and then boom, end of July, right before the eclipse season starts, we have this Aquarius full moon that happened in conjunction with the peak of Jupiter Cazimi. Jupiter Cazimi is a highly favorable, protective, and expansive event. And rare. Again, rare. That's the pattern for this year. Rare astrological events. So, with the Aquarius full moon that day, we saw the start of the release for eclipse season, as well as the introduction to whatever themes of abundance and growth were on the way in. Next, we moved into the new moon total solar eclipse on August 12th, which is still at work. We're still in the midst of the eclipse corridor. It's still moving us at record speed to whatever fates await us on the other side of the full moon lunar eclipse on August 28th, which is only a few days away. So my friends, if things have felt kind of bonkers, that's why. Whatever we are being asked to let go of, the release point is almost here. And also, I think a lot of answers will begin to flow through, along with the ability to actually move on them, because eclipse season will be over. The themes will have set themselves up to play out over the next 18 months. And rather than being at rest or feeling stuck or feeling caged, the energy should shift us into more activity. And to support that activity and the coming shift, our sun did move into the constellation of Virgo last night. So unlike the fixed fiery nature of Leo, Virgo is mutable earth. She comes to ground us, and she slowly moves us into the harvest season. She helps us adapt to coming changes. And on Tuesday, the 25th, Mercury also moves into Virgo. And this is one of Mercury's home signs. Here, the intellect is analytical, and it brings a critical gaze with it to look at whatever we need to shift and where we need to adapt. When we work with the energy, it's not hurried, and it's not frenetic, and it's not anxious, but it's careful, thoughtful movement. Having both the Sun and Mercury in Virgo gives our thought process the chance to gather itself after all of that exhaustive, chaotic energy of eclipse season, and it gives us the chance to align with whatever transformation is upon us. So we need a little bit of time to get used to that change. That's what Virgo excels at. Work with the energy of Virgo, the Virgin Maiden, and allow her to help us find nourishment and grounded rest while we shift into the fall season. And while we get used to whatever changes are coming up in our lives, because change is scary and we do not always want to let go easily. But these changes, in alignment with the eclipse, must fall away. Next, we have on August 27th, Mercury Cazimi. And we know that when a planet goes Cazimi, it has entered the exact heart of the sun, meaning it's strengthened and it is supercharged in its capacity to do what it naturally does. It's a very favorable position for a planet. It's a very supportive position for a planet. This might be a time for us with Mercury in the center of the sun, where those ideas really do begin to flow again, along with the desire to really get things done. If you feel like it's the right time to go for it, by all means. But the idea around eclipses is just to go with the flow. The final eclipse is not until the 28th. So while our ideas may begin to really break free a little bit before that, it may not be the time to actually act on them yet. Write them down. Write all of them down, record whatever comes to mind in some way, and then pay attention to whatever comes up after the full moon lunar eclipse on August 28th. And yeah, that eclipse is at 4 degrees Pisces, and it is wrapping up the series of eclipses on the Pisces Virgo axis. So whatever the themes have been for those eclipses for you personally over the last 18 months, that's the end of it, and that's part of the endings that we are experiencing specifically this summer with eclipse season, with the transits, with the transformational astrological rare events. So really just flow with it. And that's all I'm going to highlight this week. There's a lot going on in the skies. There really is. So if you're feeling restless, if you're feeling nervous, if you're feeling jittery, the answer is always, always, always ground yourself, nourish yourself, nurture yourself, and stay in the flow. Don't fight it. Just welcome in new beginnings and know that they're going to be beautiful new beginnings for you, okay? And for all that is holy, will y'all please go and get some garden fresh tomatoes from your neighbors or your farmers or from your garden and can them, because that is the most delicious treat one can possibly have in the middle of winter. So go can some tomatoes. Now, that is the end of what I have for the astrology of this week. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into our card pull. Y'all ready? Usually when I pull cards, I am looking at either what we need to do to stay in alignment for the energy around the week, right? Or what we need to hear in that moment. And today I'm really feeling like I want to ask the cards on a collective level, what do we need to hear in that moment? Divination of the Ancients, one of my faves, is calling to me, so I'm going to let that be our first card pull. And, Moonology. I haven't used this one in a minute. Yeah. I think also Sacred Destiny, I think. So that's what's calling to me. This week I'm going to look at the card that I left sitting on top. It's one of my favorite cards. That's from the Sacred Destiny deck. And I'm just going to leave that as our anchoring card because I really feel like that was a part of the message. I really do. So, because Sacred Destiny came out first and said something really beautiful to us already, I'm cutting the deck and I'm going to get started shuffling. Yeah, we're going to shuffle and see what other cards want to come out from. Ooh, okay, that's a lot. Which ones are they, though? Which ones? We're going with this. I don't know what it is. I didn't turn it over yet. We're going to keep all of these. We've got three. And they jumped. And one of them specifically jumped, and I think that's our first one. So let me change the order. It's the first one. That's the first jumper. Actually, I think we have 4, guys. This deck had a lot to say to us. So what that means is that I'm probably going to take fewer from the other decks. So we already have our anchoring card, which is love. So this is our Divination of the Ancients deck. And I think I'm going to let this be our second anchoring card, along with love. What does the Divination of the Ancients deck want to tell us today? Along with love. These are hard to shuffle. They're really big. You see? They're like, it's my whole hand. So they're much more difficult to shuffle, but no, that's not it. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep going until we get a popper. That one. Okay. All right, so those are our anchor cards. These are the additional cards, and I think that I'm going to ask Moonology to give us a take on the astrological energy this week. We already know what it is. We already know what it feels like. We've already talked about it in great length, at least I have. So we know what the astrology is saying to us this week. Moonology gives some lovely, just very grounded types of advice for how one should move. So we're going to pull one card from there, all right? I need to make sure that my glasses are handy because y'all know I can't really see. So I'm not going to read the love card. It's a beautiful card. I am going to read the love card to you because now that I'm thinking about what it says, I think we need to hear it. And love. This love card carries the keyword wild rose. And roses are a universal symbol of love, right? The rose was associated with Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. It was also thought to represent truth. In Roman times, a rose was hung in meeting places with the understanding that only truth could be spoken under the rose. In many Native American tribes, wild roses are a powerful symbol of life. Some believed that they were protection, so they kept them in their homes. The wild rose, as opposed to the domesticated rose, represents love that is wild and free and without bounds. Without bounds. It blossoms all summer and is beloved by bees and butterflies. The sacred landscape wants you to know love is all around you. Love is coming into your life. You are already more cherished than you can possibly know. Indeed, you are a sacred vessel for love to flow through you when you stand in the center of it all. All is well, no matter what is happening around you. You know that you are loved and you are lovable. You know that there's nothing that you need to do to deserve love. You are enough, just as you are. The Creator is love, and in the depths of your soul, you are love. In matters of the heart and romance, all is healing or is already healed. In terms of self-love, your confidence and self-esteem are growing as you take time to cherish and care for yourself. And that is beautiful. That's why I stopped to read it, even though it's long. And that really does align with our themes for the week. This says, communication is key. And this card is the new moon in Gemini. The new moon in Gemini. And Gemini is the other home sign for the planet Mercury. So that's interesting because Mercury is highlighted this week in our skies, right? And then we have got divination of the ancients telling us that there's a message coming through. So this says feathers, and there's a message, and if you can see, there's a portal behind there. I'm going to hold it up this way. Try and reduce the glare and just let it be there for a moment. Beautiful, right? Just gorgeous. So, the first thing that we are being told you need to know is that we are loved beyond all imagination, exactly as we are. Second is there's some sort of communication afoot along with the message, and this is in alignment with Mercury, which is highlighted this week because we have Mercury Cazimi on August 27th, which is the day before that lunar eclipse. And we know the eclipse is telling us to let something go, and also all of the astrological events are telling us to open our heart and receive and allow the new beautiful things to come in, right? And the 27th, when we have Mercury Cazimi, is important because we're going to want to go. We are going to need to listen and hear, but we're going to want to act on whatever's coming in. And we're probably going to need to sit until that eclipse is over and then act. That's the time to move. Not during the eclipse season, not in the eclipse corridor, after. This does not negate the fact, though, that the astrology said, hey, you're probably going to have a very intellectual kind of week, a lot of messages coming down, a lot of ideas coming to you. Don't act on them. Write them down and wait. I'm not going to open these three cards that came out, that jumped out at us. I am first going to pull the guidebooks so that we can get a brief overview of exactly what is meant with feathers and communication. I'm pretty sure it's exactly what has been described in the cards, but I always like to go to the cards to see how the message can clarify itself a little bit for us. So let's take a look. We have got the new moon in Gemini. It is about Mercury. It's about mercurial themes of communication, right? And overall, how this card aligns with what's happening right now, especially on the 27th with Mercury Kazemi, it speaks about Mercury in its other home sign of Gemini. And it speaks about Gemini being the sign of communication and socializing and ideas, right? And the energy around this particular card, whenever you pull it, is around information coming in speedy. It might be gossipy, it might be flirtatious. It's information. So this card is telling us that information's coming in, just like Mercury Kazemi is telling us ideas are going to flow in, specifically on and around the 27th. This card is reiterating the fact that we have probably felt this energy of push and pull, of wanting to stop and sleep and go at the same time, so we're exhausted because we can't sleep because our brains won't turn off. This is all in alignment with the energy of Mercury, right? Mercury in Gemini and Mercury in Virgo. Those are the signs that Mercury ruled. There's communication coming in. Let's look and see what Feathers wants to tell us. The guidebook gives us more information about those messages. It suggests those are messages that are coming in about our future. It says that the universe has been talking to us, is answering our prayers, that the universe wants us to hear, but we may not be open to receiving those messages and we may not be hearing them at all. So the reminder with the Feathers card is to listen. There are messages that are coming through, especially this week. Listen and know that they are going to come through in a myriad of ways. There might be an actual feather floating down to meet you, right? But it's a whisper on the wind. It is a song on the radio, words that a friend might say to you. It might be an overheard conversation. There are so many ways. It might be repeating numbers. It might be seeing an animal over and over again, or seeing an animal that you don't even think belongs in the neighborhood where you live, right? There are messages that come in any number of ways from Spirit. And this Feathers card is suggesting that we need to work really hard to hear it. So when we look at the energy that is surrounding us this week, eclipse season makes changes that we don't necessarily want to see, right? We may be fighting the changes. And if you remember last week, at the beginning of eclipse season, the message was don't fight it, right? And again, this week, don't fight it. But also, we're coming out of the other end of eclipse season, and we're going to see what those changes were, and they're for our benefit. But right now, we are being urged to quietly listen, to really observe, to pay attention, because the communication is coming to us. It's coming to us. It's not us out there talking. It's not us out there trying to say what it is we want to have happen. We need to just listen, because whatever's happening now is going to feel amazing. Remember that Nine of Cups last week, the first card we pulled? So last week we pulled the Nine of Cups as our anchoring card, and this week is the card of love. What's coming for us is good. It's beautiful. It is for us, and we're going to love it. Listen. Just pay attention this week, okay? I may not do any tarot cards this week because we have 4 more Sacred Destiny cards. We have got community. We have got leadership. That little polar bear there and the Aurora Borealis. We have solitude. And finally, we have trust. Okay, y'all, I am back. So I'm really glad that I took a moment to look at those cards. I cannot make this stuff up. And I feel like every week I'm saying the same thing. When I touch these cards and I have a question, the message comes out just so cohesively. And it doesn't make sense to me at all. I have a very kind of logical brain, and I like things to make sense, and this kind of stuff doesn't make sense to me. I swear to you, every single card that came out community, leadership, solitude, trust. It feels like they're all different things pointed in slightly different directions, even though you can kind of see a theme there, right? But as I was reading the guidebook, like I would have read community as maybe be out in the community. If I'm just looking at it, there's a collectiveness and a cohesiveness and a beauty being in community, right? That's not necessarily the energy of the week. It could be if it's part of the overall theme, but that doesn't feel like the theme to me. So that's why I said, let me go take a look. Swear to you, every single one of the card duplicates the messages of communication and guidance and messages coming through this week. I am not making this up. So the community card, it does not talk about community. The community card is about an ancient forest, and it is about the trees in a forest and how they're not just above ground. It's about how their roots are deep underground and how they're intertwined. And those roots act like a kind of communication system through the community of trees, meaning that messages are instantaneously transmitted. Messages are instantaneously transmitted through this underground system. Nutrients can travel along this system. Trees at one side of the forest can warn trees all the way on the other side of the forest that there might be danger coming, right? It's a deeply intricate system of communication. So this community card is really about communication, just like Mercury is about communication, just like messages are coming through to us, right? So even if we feel alone, we need to remember that support is all around us. And this card specifically talks about ancestors and soul family. Support is not just in the community of people around you, of other humans around you. Your ancestors are there. Your soul family is there. Spirit is there. We want to remember that we really are surrounded and supported. Our people are all around us. They love us. I'm paraphrasing from the card right now, and I kind of in tears because this is just such a beautiful message this week. Our people are all around us. They love us. They are supporting us. They stand beside us. They believe in us. And they are there for us to call on them. So they're there for us, and they want us to hear them this week. So that's the community card. And then I'm like, okay, well, leadership. That must mean that we're supposed to be out there in these streets with community leading, right? And really, the keywords for this card, for the leadership card, are the North Star. And again, I want you to take a look at these cards because there's a theme in the imagery too, right? Do you see in this community card, there's this one butterfly kind of alone in the front? There are a whole bunch of other butterflies in that card, but there's one. Just that one kind of standing alone in the front or flying alone in the front. And then here we have this leader, the polar bear. Polar bear is alone on the leadership card. And it feels like in all of these cards, they are surrounded by spirit, right? They're surrounded by nature. Spirits are in nature. They are a part of nature. That is where we can connect in amazing ways with the universe and with spirit. That's where we can see the connections between ourselves. So the fact that these cards are really fully immersive with the imagery of nature means something, right? With leadership, it's not about you necessarily being a leader. It is about the North Star being used as a kind of compass. The most important message in this card is really about the direction and the guidance that we get from above. So again, we are talking about our people being there for us, our ancestors, our spirit guides, our higher selves. They are there for us, and they are guiding us and directing us, and they're sharing messages with us this week. And they want us to hear, and they want us to listen and quietly observe. They want us to sit there and really pay attention to the messages, even if they're not, the clearest messages ever. And then, of course, leadership does have to do with you standing and being a leader, but it doesn't mean that you have to be in charge. I'm sharing this part with you because it's important to remember the energetic times that we are in. We are just out of Leo season, but Leo season is highlighted for the next year because Jupiter's in Leo and Jupiter is asking us to be visible in these events that happen, the eclipses that will come back up over the course of the next 18 months, the Jupiter Kazemi that we had in Leo. These are all focusing us on those Leo themes that we need to allow to come forth and shine through in our lives, right? And one of those is visibility. Jupiter in Leo for the next year is asking us to be visible. Pay attention to the eclipses, to what comes up after August 28th this year, and there should be two more series of eclipses on this Leo Aquarian axis. Look and see what the themes are and how you're being asked to be visible, because that's what this leadership card is. It's not asking you to be a leader and step up in front of the group and just tell people what to do. It is asking you to be a leader by becoming visible in your purpose. Now we move to solitude, which can't possibly be around messages from the universe, right? Except it is. It is. So first of all, we look at the card and it's beautiful. It looks like the Six of Swords a little bit, where you're transitioning just on that peaceful little boat. It's not exactly like the Six of Swords because we're missing the turbulent waters behind us, right? But just look at that. This person is in solitude, they're at peace, and they're just going. But again, they're alone. Like the polar bear was alone. Like there was that singular butterfly flying on its own, right? So solitude is telling us to be alone. This is about being alone and observing the energy, paying attention to the messages that are coming through. Because the keywords sacred island are talking about how often they're thought to be resting places of gods and they are used for sacred purposes. And so this card is asking us to be intentionally alone and meditate this week. And that ties back to the messages. Sometimes we can't hear messages if we're not quiet enough to allow them to come through, right? Sometimes we can't make sense of them or even hear them, receive them well enough or clearly enough to even just write down, even if we don't understand them. This card is telling us to be intentional. Go, be by yourself, find some quiet time this week and listen. That's really it. And then it says trust your instincts, follow your own lead, because this is a time when we're quiet where our creativity does take lead. Again, that's in alignment with the energy this week because Mercury is going to be sending us ideas, sharing messages with us, and a lot of it is going to have to do with that creative passion that Jupiter in Leo wants us to express, right? Again, I can't make this stuff up. This is so miraculous to me. The last card is trust. And again, it's putting us in a peaceful scene. And again, there's a solitary nature about this, right? I don't see any people in this card, but it's just, it's just a chill scene. And the keywords are desert vision. The desert may seem parched and devoid of life, but it's where spiritual people go to explore and get messages from the Creator. It is where we go for spiritual cleansing. It's where we find renewal and profound healing visions. Just as deserts can feed our souls, they can also nourish lands thousands of miles away, and that is so true about our ecological system. Sometimes, even when humans know about these things, sometimes we forget. We can forget that the trees are connected to the roots, and the roots of the trees are intertwined and talking to each other. And we forget that the desert might look like it's devoid of life and lackluster and just dry. And it's not. It's full of life, and it too is speaking. It's communicating to the rest of the ecological world, and it's supporting terrains that are thousands upon thousands of miles away. We forget these things as humans. Annually, thousands of tons of nutrient-rich dust from the Sahara crosses continents in the upper atmosphere and deposits vital phosphorus and other minerals to the Amazon, which is needful of those exact nutrients. So not only can deserts communicate to other parts of the system thousands of miles away, it delivers nutrients. And that's a word that keeps coming up: nutrients, nutrients. Something is feeding us. Whatever these messages are that are coming in this week, they are feeding us. They're feeding us with something powerful. So even when things seem parched or not fruitful, a deeper energy speaks of the power of your inner knowing. Meditate, trust, and know that the universe has you this week. That's what this is about. Your people have you. Spirit is speaking to you, and they're guiding you. And they are close to us right now, so listen. That's what this card is really all about. Have faith and know that there is a higher purpose. So, let me take off my little granny glasses. That is really, I think, the most beautiful message of the week, right? I asked what we needed to hear. We needed to hear first and foremost that we are loved beyond measure, beyond imagination. And there's nothing we need to do to earn that love, right? We simply are adored, just as we are. And then the twofold message that came through was, is communication coming? Mercury, specifically in Gemini, in its home sign, is communicating to us. And also, there are going to be messages coming through in a myriad of ways. And then we've got this display of cards that fell out at the beginning: community, leadership, solitude, trust. And they don't sound like they have anything to do with communication, but they have everything to do with communication. It's about being in solitude this week. It's about being quiet and sitting down this week and listening carefully to whatever messages are coming through. These cards are reminders that our spirit guides, our people, our ancestors, they are there and they are talking to us. And they want us to hear. Even if we are not listening, even if we think we can't hear, they're telling us they're there and they're talking. So pay attention and let your intuition lead you and guide you, because it's spot on. You got this, right? And it's telling us to be visible. Allow the energy of the Leo season that just wrapped up last night, but is very prevalent over the next year. Allow that energy to help us be authentically visible inside of our own purpose. And again, just sit in quiet solitude and trust that you are being guided, and let the love saturate in for you this week, okay? That's all I have. It was a really simple message, a beautiful message, and I hope that will lift and carry you through the week. I know it will me. All right, until next week, all the love, all the time. And y'all go get your whole lives together, okay? Good night.